Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Well, Vincent isn't with us today. This is your captain, John Regan, sitting in. And it just goes to show you never know what's going to happen in the world of radio. I'm coming home from church last night, and I get a call. And Vincent tells me that Dr. Richard Allen Miller is going to be on Caravan to Midnight with John B. Wells today. Okay, well, that's pretty good news. And I thought he was going to just, ask me to fill in for Rick. But no, it appears that Vincent's going to be on the Caravan to Midnight today as well. So here we are, and we have Rich Scheben with us for this first hour. Good morning, Rich.
John, how are you doing, buddy?
Matt, do we have Rich on the line?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. All right. How are you doing, John? Good to hear your voice.
Yeah, it seems like we were just sitting across from the table from each other.
Yeah, in fact, we were sharing the same table. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. If you were at the expo and you walked down this one aisle, you came across, it was basically like author row. First up was Rich. The same table was myself. Then there was just a little gap between tables, and there was Dr. Richard Allen Miller. I mean, I could just reach out and touch him. That's how close we were. At the opposite end of that table was Matt Stein. So that was probably an interesting experience for people right there.
Well, it was fun, John, but I'll tell you, we barely had a chance to talk because between you giving your talks, me giving my talks, and all the authors giving their talks all the time, and then when we had people coming up to the tables, there was barely 30 seconds in between people, so it was difficult to really. I think we had more conversation when we were staying at Vince's house late at night than we did at the booth.
And that's true. I was just like, Rick was right, right to my left. I actually think talked more with him in the 5 minutes before the dinner the first night than I did the whole time that we were sitting next to each other inside the expo hall.
Yeah, I believe it.
and it's like Erin Dakins, I got a chance to say hi to her, but never got a chance to talk to her. Same thing with John Moore. There was Lynn Pence in there. I went to his booth to say hi. Somebody was there. So I never even got a chance to say hi to Lynn Pence. I mean, it was you almost have to be on the show with each other to get a chance to talk.
Yeah, in fact, the only time I was able to walk around the expo, John, since you're talking about this, is either after the doors were closed or before the doors had opened. And so I got to see some pretty cool stuff. But if it wasn't for before and after hours, I wouldn't have had time to walk around and check out all the other vendors.
And I think in some ways, I don't think most people realize this. If you're just attending the expo, in some ways, you've got it better than those of us that are exhibitors and instructors. Because especially this expo, it was just wild.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of, and for anybody who's listening to us right now, I want to say it was a real privilege and honor to meet you. And what really impressed me, John, about the people who went to Vince's expo, USA Prepares Expo, was the fact that I didn't meet anybody who really had their head in the sand. They were so well-read. They were so informed on what's happening financially, economically, socially, politically, and health-wise in this country, and that just really impressed me. Everybody has done their homework. They see what's coming, and no one had the wool pulled over their eyes.
And I think another theme that we tend to see around there is that the people there wish that they could wake up other people, because it's not just about them. They want others to not have a bad surprise coming up.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons. I think knowing you a little bit and knowing the other authors, and certainly speaking for myself, I think the number one reason we're doing all this is to help others. You know, everybody I met, even vendors who do this for a business, everybody that I meet who give the talks, who have something to say, first of all, they use objective facts in lieu of subjective emotional opinion. And the number one reason why everybody's doing this, John, is to help others, is to wake people up, even if we have to do it one person at a time. But when you see what's happening to the middle class, and it's pretty obvious we're all trying to liberate them and give them ideas and solutions to improve their life and get them off the hamster wheel running to nowhere. And that's where I get the most joy, is because when you really think about it, folks, what is it all about if it's not about helping others? You know, we're not walking around with halos. We're all imperfect sinners. We're not saying that we know it all. We're just saying that we have a niche. We have a certain skill level because of certain experiences that we've had in our life. And we've chose to help people at this particular point. And it's really been an honor, especially when you hear the feedback from the people walking around, for example, at the expo.
And I guess I ought to go ahead and throw in the rest of the news I got last night. That's our last expo in Lebanon. Vincent had his meeting with the city officials, and unfortunately, it didn't go too well. It reminded him a lot of how things went at Sparta. They didn't want to hear things like the Constitution and things like that. And, it was... I wish our government officials were, more in tune with the oath of office they take. But it seems like, until we get the voters awakened and we get them voting for people that will actually be responsive to the people, this is the type of governments that we're going to get.
Well, if I can expand on that, John, basically, when you have an alliance of big government and big corporate oligarchies, you have fascism, and that's exactly what we have today. And, when you talk to them, I know a lot of police officers, firemen and stuff, and 95% of them are great people. And they get threatened, intimidated, shamed, bribed, blackmailed from the higher-ups, and they put their paycheck, their benefits, and their pensions on the line. And these people really don't know how to react when the people at the top don't adhere to their oath, to their word of honor. And until we all stand together as free-minded, free-thinking individuals in America and draw that line in the sand and have zero tolerance for political correctness, for example, we must hold their feet to the fire and make sure that there's three words that I use all the time, and you probably heard me enough on the radio, John, that I always say certain cliches. One of them, and they're all homemade, is how long do we expect to be the land of the free and the home of the brave if we don't have the guts to stand for principle? How I define principle, folks, and I'm sure the ones who have heard me know this, is that we must all demand to have the same rules, laws, and accountability for everyone. Doesn't matter if you're a high government official, Congress, president, fireman, police. Doesn't matter what skin pigmentation, what gender, who or what you have sex with. If we just had those three words, and everybody said them, the same rules, laws, and accountability for everyone on American soil, we wouldn't have 90% of this corruption and manipulation.
And I've talked about, while I was at the Pentagon, sitting there across the Potomac from the Capitol building in the White House, what goes on in D.C. is local news when you're in D.C. It's not, the national news. So you tend to find out more what's going on. You have the local paper, the Washington Post, for better or worse. You're still finding out more about what's going on in government. And like I say, this was during the second Reagan term. And here I am, I'm just a captain sitting in the basement of the Pentagon. But these people, which included the Republicans, with much higher level office than I was, offices that are stated in the Constitution, they're sitting there violating the same oath of office that I had taken to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And unfortunately, like I say, as a captain sitting in the basement, not a whole lot that I could do from that position to make things better. And in fact, it probably wasn't until I came and found USA Prepares that I even found a platform to try to work on making that better. Unfortunately, in the 30 years since, so much has gone downhill in America.
Absolutely. Well, people need to realize that everything's being diluted. We have 6 companies, folks, 6 corporations that basically control all of the media. And that's why when you see a GSN company like USA Prepares actually having the guts to say it like it is, these are patriot groups. These are people who realize that we can no longer have a tiered system of special rules, laws, and accountabilities based on what group you're in. And these 6 corporations own 1,500 newspapers, 1,200 magazines, 9,000 radio stations, 1,500 TV stations, 2,400 publishers, and big production companies. Now, for those of you who are listening to this, who might have read my book, I purposely did not. I self-published it purposely because Amazon, for example, has misspelled my book title, said my book was out of stock, and over the past couple months they've been deleting 5-star reviews. So they don't want certain information to get out there, John.
And we'll be right back. John Regan, Rich Sheaman.
Hi, this is Steve Sanchez, and based on a recent study, it was found that 57 million Americans had legal issues over the last 12 months, but only 60% of those studied sought out the services of a lawyer. Why? In a nutshell, affordability. Well, my friends at Legal Shield have created a solution that can help you not if, but when you need an attorney. For as little as $17 per month, Legal Shield will provide you unlimited access to qualified attorneys at an accomplished law firm for advice and counsel on legal issues, no matter how serious or trivial. For over 40 years and with 1.4 million families across North America, Legal Shield can help you, the loyal GCN listener. Representatives are standing by now to answer your questions, so call them now at 1-855-340-SAVE. That's 1-855-340-7283, or visit them at lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com.
Results will vary from case to case.
The human body is extraordinary. Despite all the stresses we inflict upon it, it still works hard to stay in balance. Thousands upon thousands of people rely upon Heart and Body Extract to help their body stay balanced. This excellent 100% natural herbal formula helps maintain healthy blood pressure levels, cleans arteries, promotes good circulation, balances cholesterol, and more. HB Extract, paired with healthy lifestyle choices like good nutrition and exercise, can give you a life free of pain, sickness, and fear. Recapture your youthful vitality and experience your body healing itself with the aid of HB Extract. It's extremely effective and it starts working in just days. Visit hbextract.com to learn more and to read scores of testimonials from satisfied customers. And we've never increased our price in over 10 years. That makes Heart and Body Extract as great a value now as it was the first day we sold it. A healthy heart is a happy heart. Call 866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
Vincent will be back at the controls tomorrow. He and Dr. Richard Allen Miller are on Caravan to Midnight with John B. Wells, and you really can't blame them for taking advantage of being on a show of that caliber to help get the message out. And also want to give a thanks to Matt, who's engineering the broadcast at Genesis, really being helpful today for somebody having to literally jump in the pilot seat at the last minute. With us today, Rich Scheben, author of One New York Man's Journey to Off-the-Grid Living in Montana. So, Rich, when you were staying at the farm, did Rick talk to you about the climate change issue?
Briefly. I'll be honest with you, John. The few conversations I had was pre-dawn hours and after midnight. I think, I don't know about you, buddy, but I think I pretty close to crashed and burned when I came back. I believe I averaged about 3 hours of sleep every night at Vince's farm. So, with all the speakers that were staying at Vince's house, you got a little bit here, a little bit there, and it was never a full conversation. So I did hear a portion of it, but not the whole thing, obviously.
Well, I don't want to take away from what he's going to bring to it, but I'd kind of like to lay out a little bit, because they're treat it as homework, because the more you get to look up on this between now and when Rick is back on next week, and I guess just to back up, when I got there, I mean, I drove in from Dallas, and I managed to get there basically about 10 minutes before the dinner was supposed to start on Friday evening. So I, walked through the expo hall, and, they're making that announcement, we're getting ready to close down. You won't be able to get back in until 8 in the morning. So I walked out of the expo hall into the lobby, and just at that time, Rick Miller's walking out of the room where the dinner's going to be. He sees me, and those next 5 minutes were, put me into a state of shock for, not only the entire expo, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. Because when the government pulls somebody back into service, and it's never a good thing. It's because they need that person's expertise for some issue. And there's a lot of things, like he tells us, it's above his pay grade, which was well above what my pay grade was. So there's certain things he doesn't know. But in the scientific scheme of things, there's you've got the Schumer resonance that the Earth has, and what he's saying is there's a perturbation in that resonance, and that can't be caused within the Earth. It's an object outside, and what he's saying is there's an object probably about 5 times the size of Earth. It was probably a dwarf star that died, and it looks like it's somewhere in the outer part of the solar system right now. We have global warming going on, not just on Earth, but on planets from Mars to Pluto. And that effect on Earth includes melting ice, which puts fresh water into the ocean, which affects the currents. And there was an article I had on that yesterday that talked about with the fewer currents, they're expecting a colder climate in Europe. But what Rick was saying is that, look at the movie The Day After Tomorrow, and that the science in that is probably pretty close to what we're going to be seeing. Now, some of that might seem a little bit unbelievable, things like the instant freezing. And I'll talk about that when we get back from this break.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for $35,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet for $35,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100-foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL. Lock in your price now. Call 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-905-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. Say goodbye to the cable guy and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. Sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV. Say goodbye to the cable guy. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV.
By now, you may have heard a bit about Bitcoins. But did you know Bitcoins are now over an $8.5 billion market? And did you know that over 65,000 businesses now accept Bitcoins? Listen, if you're already earning Bitcoins or trying to make money in the Bitcoin market, you've got to know bidbit.co. Why? Because bidbit.co is where you can easily receive Bitcoins by selling and auctioning off your own personal items or promote business products and services for Bitcoins. You heard right. Whether personal or business, you can now buy, sell, and auction your products and services quickly, easily, and securely for Bitcoin at bidbit.co, the first and only marketplace website to offer Bidbit Escrow, a proprietary technology which gives buyers and sellers security and peace of mind because all transactions are protected. Start today. It's free to join, free to post, free to auction, and free to bid at bidbit.co. Buy, sell, bid, or auction everything Bitcoin. That's www.bidbit.co. bidbit.co.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey Water Filtration Systems. The Berkey Light Systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light System today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at goberkey.com. That's goberkey.com today.
This is your captain, John Regan, at the controls today. And we were talking about the movie The Day After Tomorrow. And there was a scene in there where, this guy's in a helicopter, he opens the door and he gets flash frozen. And we think, boy, that's just science fiction, but not really. And while it hasn't happened to us in modern times, about 12,500 years ago, such an event did occur. And if you want to read up about some of the effects on that, all you got to do is start searching for these woolly mammoth in Siberia. They were flash frozen to where, the fresh flowers on their stomach hadn't even had time to be digested. And it wasn't just, this northern region where Siberia is. It was also in the Andes. There were fresh flowers there that were flash frozen that just recently started thawing out a few years ago. So whatever happens to allow that flash freezing to take effect, apparently Rick believes that we're going to be seeing that again. And it may seem hard to believe, but he says the temperature will go down to minus 100 degrees in minutes. And I can't give you a whole lot more information because there simply wasn't a lot in that 5-minute time frame. He did give some notice for what Missouri there would be expecting, and that is that the frost line would be going down 8 feet, so that if you were going to stay there, you wanted to make sure that you were underground at least 10 feet, that you would probably have to stay there for 2 to 3 weeks, and that when you came out, there would be a 10-foot snowpack there waiting for you that would probably take or be there for at least a couple of years, and that when that was gone, basically everything in the environment would be dead. So a lot of ramifications there. I've got a list of questions in my head I was going to get down on paper last night before Vince called, so I'll be getting those on paper for next time Rick is on the air, to try and because even if he doesn't have the answer, some of the ramifications of that, we've got other people, other instructors that have expertise that might be able to answer the question. So I got back, I started looking up. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. It is available on Amazon for like $2.99 if you are able to stream things. I've got the Netflix DVD service, so I went ahead and put that in my queue, and it's actually due here in the mail today. So that's part of my homework for the weekend. And another thing that Rick mentioned was the Clovis culture. So if you want to research them, then you'll be in pretty good shape for next time he's on the air. So not exactly the news we want to hear. It's hard enough with just the financial stuff, and I'm still going in my head, what does this do to change our preparations? And one of the big things is that it looks like we need to look at the relocation aspect of this, whether that's moving south, and that means probably the southern part of Texas or on into Mexico to totally escape it, or you end up having to move underground, in which case, and the only area that I really have is Missouri there. You have to get down about 10 feet. But part of that's not necessarily bad. You need to have a root cellar, and when you're in Tornado Alley, you need a storm shelter. So to have one of those that's just 10 feet deep, you might just want to make it a little bit better so it's more enjoyable to stay in for 2 to 3 weeks. But whether it's an ice age or whether it's the economic collapse, we're kind of looking at the same time frame, something between 2017, 2020 at the latest. So it's time to stop thinking about things, time to start doing and getting ready. Rich?
Well, do you want me to comment on all that, John?
I know it was a lot. Go ahead.
I'll be honest with you. It's kind of analogous to, I try to control the things that I do control. As you know, in the book, I talk about the financial, economic, social, and political and health reasons why we need to be more self-sufficient as an American people. And there's a lot of theories out there, John. A lot of theories. And I try to use as many objective facts as I possibly can. I'm not saying that what Rick is saying is 100% theory, but, it's kind of analogous to when I talk about teaching kids. We have people who graduate college and have no life experience, and they're becoming teachers, and they're teaching theory, books written by other people, and instead of practical experience. Now, I'm not talking in any derogatory sense of Rick's finding. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things that we can't control as a people. So in the meantime, I'm going to need personally a lot more evidence to see something like this happening over the next few years. And that's one of the reasons I, again, talk about things that I'm aware of financially, economically, socially, and politically to control and liberate the destiny of middle-class America. I think there's a lot of theories out there. I mean, we've been hearing about global warming for quite a long time now. And, there's climate change has been happening globally in this world for many, many thousands of years. And I do agree there is evidence of an ice age, what you were talking about with the woolly mammoths and the food in the bellies. I'm hoping that the powers that be have more humanity and less greed. So when there is enough evidence of something like this happening, that they could tell the people, and the people would have enough time to do something about it. In the meantime, I'm going to try to think about the practical experience and less theory, and try to do something about helping as many people as I possibly can through other circumstances that they can control. Does that make any sense?
It does. And I think part of the problem goes back to the experiment that was done with Orson Welles and the War of the Worlds, which showed that the people didn't handle things too well. And whether or not that's true in today's society, because we've been so plastered with all these different movies, whether it's an alien invasion or inbound asteroids, you name it. I think just the thought of it is no longer foreign to people, whether it's real or not. But apparently they've already decided that, the people can't handle it, and I guess there's a certain percent that wouldn't. And they're doing a darn good job of keeping us distracted, just with normal things going on, whether it's the bad things of, the police being out of control, with what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on with Ukraine, geoengineering. I mean, we could, list so many events. But even if we just bring it down to what my area has been, the financial collapse, and that was part of my bad news for, the expos, showing that just based on what our total national income is, government spending, and debt service, we are headed for bad times in very short order, because we're basically at that point in the wall where you either have to start borrowing a lot of money or printing a lot of money, and we just know that you can't keep that up for long.
And John, I agree with what you're saying, that we especially have, and I say this on every radio show I'm on, we're being distracted, dumbed down, and divided as American people. I'm a huge proponent of synergy. And with what you're saying financially, I totally agree. And you can see the evidence in what's happening with Germany, France, UK, Italy, Denmark. Australia is going to be moving over to the Chinese Development Bank. In other words, the BRICS nations. And if you look at what China and Russia and India has been doing by backing up currencies with gold and silver, I think the rats are leaving the ship, and don't want anything to do with the central banks that are just printing and spending, and they want to have tangibility backed by certain currencies, especially continents like Europe that have a very high human population to natural resource ratio. And that's pretty obvious. And I think that when you give that type of information, I think it gives people at least some kind of hope to, even if they're taking baby steps to create synergy in their communities, to grow gardens, to raise animals, to buy some acreage in order to change their lifestyle. I think people can wrap their brains around some of the messages that we're saying. I think that for people like you and me, I've met some very, very interesting and powerful people over the past, since I came out with my book and I'm doing radio shows, and I've met some very interesting people, and they have their finger in the heartbeat of what's happening economically, globally, and I'm hoping that one of those people, if an event like what you and Rick are saying actually happens, enough people will be warned and hopefully have a plan of action.
Rick Scheben, this is John Regan. We'll be back after these messages.
I'm Vincent Finelli of USAPrepares.com. As most of you know, I broadcast weekday mornings on GCN from 9 to 11. And I'm also a full-time farmer. Add to that mix the weekly meetups and the Get Prepared Expo, and this combination makes for a demanding schedule. On the farm, we raise grass-fed Black Angus cattle and provide them with the best variety of summer and fall grasses available. Our cattle are exposed to the extremes of weather, the toxins in the air, and the electromagnetic radiation that's all around us. So even the best grasses and food that we provide are not enough. Our cattle require minerals and supplements for strong health and resistance to disease. And so do we. For these reasons, my mother, our children, Mrs. Finelli, and I all take Longevity, Beyond Tangy Tangerine, De-Stress, Glucogel, and EFA+. USAPreparesTeam.com. And thank you for being in class today.
By now, you may have heard a bit about Bitcoins. But did you know Bitcoins are now over an $8.5 billion market? And did you know that over 65,000 businesses now accept Bitcoins? Listen, if you're already earning Bitcoins or trying to make money in the Bitcoin market, you've got to know BidBit.co. Why? Because BidBit.co is where you can easily receive Bitcoins by selling and auctioning off your own personal items or promote business products and services for Bitcoins. You heard right. Whether personal or business, you can now buy, sell, and auction your product and services quickly, easily, and securely for Bitcoin at BidBit.co, the first and only marketplace website to offer BidBit Escrow, a proprietary technology which gives buyers and sellers security and peace of mind because all transactions are protected. Start today. It's free to join, free to post, free to auction, and free to bid at BidBit.co. Buy, sell, bid, or auction everything Bitcoin. That's www.bidbit.co. BidBit.co.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-905-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. Say goodbye to the cable guy and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. Sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows. Pause and rewind live TV. Even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV. Say goodbye to the cable guy. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV.
This is John Regan sitting in for Vincent with Rick Scheben. You know, while I was out at the farm, I did get a chance to talk a little bit more with Rick. And I asked him, what's the odds or percent chance that this ice age is going to happen? And his answer was 100%. The question is timing, which he believes is 2017 to 2020. And, you know, like you say, this is of his opinion. But, given his background and experience, it's one of those things I can't really ignore. And I'm sure this is going to be one of the things that we talk about on USA Prepares quite a bit over the coming months. But in the scheme of things, it does change preparedness a little bit, but we still need to be ready because things are going to be changing in this country, even if there is no ice age coming. There will be some notice. It's kind of like, again, what was seen in the movie. Weird things happen in various places. It could be like a small area gets hit with this killer hail. So that's the lead up. Unfortunately, by the time these weird things start happening, there is no time to really do this preparation of either evacuating to a warmer climate or digging down to ride it out. So it's a decision that is unfortunately got to be made within the next few months, what you're going to do for you and your family. Rich?
Well, John, I'll be honest with you. This is the first time I've heard what Rick's saying by anybody. And I'm not saying Rick is wrong. I just don't, this is obviously not my area of expertise, which is anything to do with climate. So that being said, how I'm going to put an exclamation point, since we're running out of time here, is basically be a little redundant in a lot of the things that I say. When I gave the presentation at the expo last week, I talked about the population and the net worth and cash flow of the 95% versus the top, say, 1, 2, 3%. And no matter how you slice it, folks, we're not going to be able to have a country where we have the same rules, laws, accountability, and synergy if we continue to allow the powers that be distract, dumb down, and divide us. And how I position this is, whether it be the Federal Reserve, what are they going to do? Or the IMF, what are they going to do? Or the U.S. Treasury, what are they going to do? Or the Congress and the President, what are they going to do? Well, I think there's enough information out there between the Internet and radio shows like this. I think it's time that the 95% stick together and don't let the powers that be use words like extremist, racist, bigot, sexist, misogynist, homophobe, white supremacist, what I call in the book the dirty dozen names. I say it's up to us to stand up and have synergy and create plans of action for whatever might be coming down the pike. If you're tired of eating GMO foods, which half of the world has outlawed, if you're tired of being sick all the time because of the lack of vitamins and minerals in your food and nutrition, if you're tired of being raped by the big pharmaceutical companies, it's up to us to share information. The state is broken, whether it be financially, economically, socially, politically, health-wise, or some type of climate change. We need to stick together, folks. The 95%, we have the majority. Let's all be Americans, please.
Real quick, how would they get your book and DVD?
Well, you can go on my website, folks, offgridmontana.com, and get all the information you want. My DVD is also available on Amazon now, too.
Rich, thank you, especially for being here on such short notice. This is John Regan. I'll be here after the top of the hour break.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for $35,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet for $35,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100 foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL. Lock in your price now. Call 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
So you've been listening to pharmacist Ben and Dr. Wallach for a long time now, and you're wondering if longevity really works. Hi, my name is Adam. I'm an employee at GCN, and I've been using longevity products for over 2 years now. Call me today to hear my story at 612-695-5982. You too can lose weight, experience increased energy, and feel better about yourself and the future of your family. Call today, 612-695-5982. That's 612-695-5982.
We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit and carting to a private bank, having it lent back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Hi, Ted Anderson. I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
We live in a complicated society. Stressful issues are always popping up. Have you ever been treated unfairly by someone? Have you ever been overcharged for a repair? Have you ever signed a contract or a document? Worried about identity theft? How many times have you been in those unique situations where you just wanted to call an attorney to find out if you're right or wrong, or what your legal rights are? But every time you think about calling an attorney, what do you think about first? That's right. Who do you call, and how much will it cost? Our friends at Legal Shield have found a solution. With a nationwide network of 6,900 attorneys who average 19 years of experience, Legal Shield's law firms take over 40,000 calls per week helping their members. For less than $20 per month, you can have access to Legal Shield on everything from the trivial to the traumatic. Let Legal Shield stand up for your rights at lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com. Or call 855-340-SAVE, 855-340-7283.
Results will vary from case to case.
This is your captain, John Regan, sitting in today for Vincent. And in case you missed the first hour, the good news, Vincent has not been incarcerated after his meeting in Lebanon. The bad news is that the city leaders there, don't care about things like the Constitution. So it looks like we've had our last expo in Lebanon. And I get this call from Vincent. I was on my way home from church last night, saying that, good news that Dr. Richard Allen Miller is going to be on Caravan to Midnight with John B. Wells tomorrow. And initially I thought he was calling me up like he normally does to give me a little notice to be last minute fill in when a guest has to be off unexpectedly. But then he turns around and tells me, by the way, I'm going to be on Caravan to Midnight too. How would you like to host USA Prepares tomorrow? And, well, that's happened before where I've got last minute notice, like when the studio blew up with the batteries. But the guest was going to be there. So this is, the first time. Hey, we don't have a host. We don't have a guest. You want to show up? So we have Erin Dakins with us today, and I want to thank Erin for being here at the last minute as well. Good morning.
Hi, John. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Doing good.
Good deal. Well, it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It is, and I was talking with Rich Scheben last hour. Rich and I were sitting at the same table at the expo, and the next table over was, Dr. Richard Allen Miller and Matt Stein. And Rich and I barely got a chance to talk to each other just sitting at the same table.
I didn't get to talk to you at all.
No, you and I just barely got a chance to say hi.
Every time I would do something, somebody would grab me.
And, this was the first expo that I've really experienced that. It's always been busy, but I've always had a chance to stop and, say hi and chat a little bit. It's like, John Moore wasn't that far down the row from me, and I probably had a chance to say hi to him as well. I went to see Lynn Pence, and there's people at his booth, and I couldn't stick around, so I never even got the opportunity to say hi.
I know. It was crazy.
It was wild.
It was. I don't know about you, but I'm still tired.
Oh, I was so looking forward to getting the day off.
Yeah, that never happens, John.
It's a good lesson in preparedness because you don't get to choose when things happen.
This is true. Very true. You just kind of got to go with the flow, But it was a great time. We had a good time.
Yeah, it was. Every expo has its own flavor, but this one really was different, and I think it was good. And like Vincent says, I don't know if we will be able to have another one simply because of everything that's going on in the world today.
Right. Well, that's true. And having one in Lebanon is not going to work. And I was talking to Vinny about that last night, too, and I said, listen. Here's the problem. Most people are holding these expos at something that's owned by the city or the government somehow. Well, if there's no constitution we work under and it's all a corporation, they can do and say whatever they want to do. And we have no rights there.
Yeah, and like I said, it was a great expo. I think it was almost 100 seminars over 2 days. And other than the 3 that I gave, I only made one other one. That was the one Dr. Richard Allen Miller did where we could ask questions. And unfortunately, it's like me. The answers you get are not necessarily the ones you want to hear, but they're the ones you need to hear. I did not get a chance to get to your seminars. What was it that you talked about at the expo?
I didn't get to anybody else's seminars either, John. It was crazy. I talked about emergency rehydration in basically a grid down situation where you don't have the ability to go to the hospital or a doctor. I talked about personal hygiene, and then I talked about diatomaceous earth.
Would you like to expand on those? I think we got the time.
Sure, I can do that. Let's start with the emergency rehydration because I do think that's critical. When somebody has say there's a grid down situation, John, and there's no hospitals or there's a pandemic going on, you don't probably want to take your loved one to a hospital. Maybe they're totally overloaded as they would be. What are you going to do? Because dehydration is the killer of any. It can be an upper respiratory flu like a pneumonia, or it could be a violent gastrointestinal upset kind of flu. It's dehydration that'll get you in the long run. So most people, now I know you were in the military, so you probably know how to set an IV.
I never got that training.
You never did? Okay. Well, a lot of people know how to do it. They may not have, it's not like you just run down to Walgreens and buy a box of IV catheters, right? I mean, it just doesn't work that way. So and a lot of people wouldn't know how to put an IV in, even if they had it. And then are they going to have the fluids? And then the line to run from the bag of fluids into the IV in the arm. So that's probably not going to be feasible for many people. So I kept thinking there's got to be a way to do this. And I was a registered veterinary technician for 25 years before I retired. So I kept thinking, there's things we've done to animals they could probably cross over. And sure enough, I came up with, it's about a year ago, I came up with an idea of rehydrating the person via the rectum. And I know that sounds gross and most people don't want to talk about it, but it works because the intestinal mucosa will absorb fluids really fast. And it might just make the difference between life and death of whoever you're taking care of, your loved one. It could be your spouse, your child, your brother, sister, mother. It doesn't matter. It could save their life. And it's not hard, and it's easy to prepare for now, and it's not expensive. So what I did was I showed people how to use an enema bag. You could go to Walgreens or CVS or probably Walmart or anywhere and buy an enema bag. And it'll have a hose on it, and it'll have different attachments, and it'll have a clamp on the hose. I showed them how to make homemade saline solution using Himalayan sea salt that they could put in the enema bag. And you insert the probe, into the rectum a little bit. Don't shove it all the way up there. Come on. And yeah, I know, right? And then you don't set it, the idea is for them to absorb the fluids, not flush it out like an enema. Okay. So you're going to set your drip fairly slow. And when you have the salt water in solution that you're running in there, that changes the charge of the ions. So the mucosa will just absorb those fluids really quickly. And that's just an easy way. It's ditch medicine at its finest. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, and I had an experience with dehydration myself. I was over in Germany. This was 1984. And the summer that year in Germany was very cool. We were lucky to reach 70 degrees. They still had the heat on in military housing in the summer, like July.
Ew.
This is unheard of in government housing. Government normally works by the calendar. The heat turns on this day, turns off that day. The AC turns on that day, and there's no logic or reason. But that wasn't the way it was. And I had a trip to Spain. Well, Spain was on the opposite end of the spectrum, so I touched down in Spain, and it's in the 90s, like the upper 90s at that.
Okay.
And I didn't realize it, but, obviously I was sweating more because I wasn't used to that kind of temperature. And on the second base that I went to, which was Torrejon, I'm there, and I believe it was the weekend, because I was there for a few days. And I decided, in my off time, go to the base theater, watch a show, and I'm sitting there feeling worse and worse and worse. And managed to make it through the show, and I walked down to the emergency room, and they run tests and find out I pretty much run out of potassium.
Yep, that'll happen.
So, it's more than just drinking fluids. You have your electrolytes, the sodium, the potassium, and you have to, and while I'd been drinking, that part of my body, didn't know things were different. The potassium wasn't there, so they gave me the packets, and, that took care of the initial really bad stuff. But it really did take me years to get used to the heat again.
Well, it does. And did they give you salt pills?
I don't think they gave me salt pills. They didn't talk about the sodium. They only talked about
in the
potassium.
military. See, they used to in the military years ago. When Pratt was in the military in the 70s, they had salt pills. When they were going to be in the jungle, something like that. Yeah. But this time when he was in Iraq, no salt pills. He got dehydrated. But what you mentioned about the electrolytes is critical. Because when he got dehydrated, his electrolytes went way out of whack, and his heart went into atrial fibrillation because of that electrolyte imbalance. It's dangerous. Now, you can buy electrolyte powder. If you want the human form of it, look in the pediatric section at, Walmart or, Walgreens or something. They'll have a powdered electrolyte solution. You can get that. I've got the animal stuff that you would buy for like just like a baby goat or something that's born. We have that put back. It's an electrolyte solution.
And, a third part of the mix that Dr. Shealy talks about is magnesium.
Got to have it.
And that's one of those things, like he says, you don't want to do tons of that orally because of the laxative effect. And as you get older, you don't absorb as much. So you want to be able to do that topically.
You can, and I do. I soak in it. But anyway, you could do some of this up the bum, too, and people don't think about that, John.
Well, we're already at the break. It's John Regan with Erin Dakins. Be right back.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 877-345-7645. That's 877-345-7645. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you have been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately at 1-877-345-7645. That's 1-877-345-7645. 1-877-345-7645.
The human body is extraordinary. Despite all the stresses we inflict upon it, it still works hard to stay in balance. Thousands upon thousands of people rely upon Heart and Body Extract to help their body stay balanced. This excellent 100% natural herbal formula helps maintain healthy blood pressure levels, cleans arteries, promotes good circulation, balances cholesterol, and more. HB Extract, paired with healthy lifestyle choices like good nutrition and exercise, can give you a life free of pain, sickness, and fear. Recapture your youthful vitality and experience your body healing itself with the aid of HB Extract. It's extremely effective and it starts working in just days. Visit hbextract.com to learn more and to read scores of testimonials from satisfied customers. And we've never increased our price in over 10 years. That makes Heart and Body Extract as great a value now as it was the first day we sold it. A healthy heart is a happy heart. Call 866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
And this is John Regan at the controls today. Vincent will be back with us tomorrow. So, Erin, what do we do now that we've stuck it?
That's a good way to put it, John. Well, once you see, that's the critical part too, right there. I mean, not that part, sticking it. No, it's that we're going to have to be our own healthcare workers. Okay, so basically, you're going to do the best you can with what you have, and that's part of being a prepper, I believe. So, you can put electrolytes in there. Magnesium is critical. And like you mentioned that it does have a laxative effect. So you're not going to want to, and you may have somebody that's not real conscious, that's that sick. So you're not going to be able to really give them anything by mouth. And that's the key right there. A lot of us have, transdermal magnesium. You can also just have a nice handy little bag of Epsom salts. Okay. And, you could mix up the Epsom salts in some warm water and kind of rub that on their belly or the bottoms of their feet. The bottoms of the feet, the arch of the feet, those absorb oils and different products like the magnesium. If I feel like I'm low in magnesium, I will even take our transdermal magnesium and rub it on the arches of my feet. Okay? So you can do that to a patient that's kind of down. The electrolyte solution is critical. Making your own saline solution can be a lifesaver. Now, do you want me to go through that real quick, John?
Sure.
Okay. Most people have ball jars, the canning jars, mason jars, Kerr, whatever they've got. And I'm just going to give out the recipe for a 16-ounce bottle. Take some clean, purified water. You're going to heat it on your stove to just before boiling and take it off the heat. Add 2 teaspoons. I use pink Himalayan sea salt because it does have trace minerals in it. Mix it up, stir it up. It's still going to remain cloudy a little bit. Let it cool. You can pour that in your ball jar that you've sterilized. Now remember, this is going up the bum, so sterility is not as critical as doing an IV, okay? But try to do the best you can. And then you can just pour it in your enema bag as you need it. And you want to kind of play with the flow on your hose before you insert it. They'll appreciate that. You don't want it gushing out like a fire hose. It's all going to come right back out at you. So that's not my idea of a real good time. So you want to adjust the clamp to where it's kind of a slow drip. And that will rehydrate a person very quickly. And I thought about this, and I've talked about it on air off and on for the last year or so, and I thought before the seminar, how you research what you're going to talk about a little bit. And I thought, I wonder if anybody else was kind of weird enough to try this, because I've done it on my farm animals before. And sure enough, I found the military during World War I had used this technique. Their medics had done this in the field. And they would just use canteen water, okay? it was called proctoclysis it was what they called it, or the Murphy drip. So I felt better that I wasn't like the only nut out there. So it is something that is a viable in a grid down situation when you need to rehydrate that person. People also don't understand that when a person is becoming dehydrated, their core body temperature will actually elevate a little bit because of the regulatory mechanisms in the brain with the dehydration. So you've definitely got to start getting them rehydrated. And this can work, like I said, for a flu of any kind. But what if you have somebody that cuts themselves really bad? I mean, somebody maybe it's a grid down situation, but we're going to be doing a lot of stuff we probably don't normally do, using stuff that we, maybe older stuff, maybe rusty stuff, any kind of thing. What if somebody like slices their femoral artery when they're out working on a fence? Anything can happen. We know that. So not only do you have to get the bleeding stopped, but you're going to have to replace the blood volume. And if you don't have an IV, this will work to replace that blood volume pretty quickly. So I definitely wanted to get that out to people, let them know that there's hope.
And I think I'll end up borrowing that information too, for including in the unprepared prepper, because there's so much that if you don't think about it, and you're there on the other side of the event, it really does become a life and death situation.
It does. And what if think about it, if you have a child, like a 5 or 6 year old, and it's, like you said, I like after the event. Okay, it's after the event, and you can't get to a doctor, you can't get to hospital, they're running a really high fever, they've got some kind of flu. Obviously, you want to quarantine them, but you've got to rehydrate that child pretty quickly. And this is, it sounds unpleasant going up the rectum, but it's really not. Personally, I hate IVs. I feel every drop that goes in those things, because I just do. I always have. I throw fits with nurses, like, don't touch my hand with that IV, I'll kill you. Go up my arm a little bit because it hurts me so bad. To me, actually, this would be less invasive, kind of embarrassing. But then again, if I'm half out of it with a fever, I really don't care at that point, So it's not really an invasive procedure. Just don't cram it.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products. Most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey guy at goberkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com, home of the Berkey guy.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-905-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. Say goodbye to the cable guy and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. Sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV. Say goodbye to the cable guy. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV.
By now, you may have heard a bit about Bitcoins. But did you know Bitcoins are now over an $8.5 billion market? And did you know that over 65,000 businesses now accept Bitcoins? Listen, if you're already earning Bitcoins or trying to make money in the Bitcoin market, you've got to know bidbit.co. Why? Because bidbit.co is where you can easily receive Bitcoins by selling and auctioning off your own personal items or promote business products and services for Bitcoins. You heard right. Whether personal or business, you can now buy, sell, and auction your product and services quickly, easily, and securely for Bitcoin at bidbit.co, the first and only marketplace website to offer BidBit Escrow, a proprietary technology which gives buyers and sellers security and peace of mind because all transactions are protected. Start today. It's free to join, free to post, free to auction, and free to bid at bidbit.co. Buy, sell, bid, or auction everything Bitcoin. That's www.bidbit.co. bidbit.co.
The human body is extraordinary. Despite all the stresses we inflict upon it, it still works hard to stay in balance. Thousands upon thousands of people rely upon Heart and Body Extract to help their body stay balanced. This excellent 100% natural herbal formula helps maintain healthy blood pressure levels, cleans arteries, promotes good circulation, balances cholesterol, and more. HB Extract, paired with healthy lifestyle choices like good nutrition and exercise, can give you a life free of pain, sickness, and fear. Recapture your youthful vitality and experience your body healing itself with the aid of HB Extract. It's extremely effective and it starts working in just days. Visit hbextract.com to learn more and to read scores of testimonials from satisfied customers. And we've never increased our price in over 10 years. That makes Heart and Body Extract as great a value now as it was the first day we sold it. A healthy heart is a happy heart. Call 866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
Well, Vincent and Dr. Richard Allen Miller on Caravan Midnight today. This is John Regan with Erin Dakins, and the joys of live radio. I guess neither one of us could hear the music before the commercials kicked in. So, do you still have your train of thought?
No, not really. But that's okay. That's okay. It's just gone. It's live radio. I love it when I don't hear the bumper. It just happens. It's okay. Well, that was my kind of contribution, because I think in this situation that we're probably headed for, where it's going to be kind of chaotic for a while, that we have got to concentrate now while we can, and things are still available, is getting our medical kits ready. And that was part of our medical kit. In fact, when I came up with this idea, I literally said, honey, you've got to run into town and get me 2 enema bags. And he's kind of looking at me like, what's wrong? You know what? Do you need the enema? No, I don't need it. It's for this. So I explained it to him. He's like, okay. And he did. So we had those put back. I think the medical kits are critical and they may save your life. Figure out what herbals or botanicals, their shelf life, if you can order those now that you might need, like antiviral properties, that kind of thing. Cayenne pepper, something good you can put back because it'll stop bleeding. I'm assured that it doesn't sting when you put it in the wound, but I haven't tried it yet. So, another really good, it's in our first aid, or I call it a medical kit because it's far more extensive than a first aid kit. Silver cream. We all talk about colloidal silver, right, John?
Right.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of different companies now, and I used to use this in practice because when we dealt with a lot of birds, too, like parrots, birds, okay? You can't use a lot of the antibiotic ointments like you use on yourself or even your dog or cat. Birds can't do it. You can't put like a triple antibiotic ointment on a bird. So we came up with another product, and that was a silver cream. So it's an antibiotic cream, but it's made with colloidal silver. And that's what we have put back in our preps, and we use it ourselves, like for little cuts or whatever. I always have with my children. So that's something you can put back now that you can have and have it ready. Of course, you want your bandaging materials and all sorts of things. I don't know. Go to Walgreens. Sometimes Walgreens or CVS or, the aisles over there in Walmart can be a prepper's paradise when you're building a first aid kit, because there's lots of things. Now, everybody has made this move over to digital thermometers, right?
Oh, yeah.
I hate them with a passion. I don't think they're accurate. The batteries run down. Don't get the sucker wet. I just hate them, okay? So I've managed to save some of my good old-fashioned glass with, I know the deadly toxin mercury in it. Most, even if you break one, it's really not that horrible of a deal, because trust me, I broke a lot and I'm still talking to you, okay? But I saved those. I think they're much more accurate. If you could go to flea markets or any place else and find those, maybe you could find them up on Amazon still. I don't know. I don't even know if they can still sell them. But those are the thermometers that I recommend. But you're going to need those things. You're going to need fever reducers, different products that we take for granted now, but in an after event or a grid down situation, they're not going to be available. You can't just run down to the neighborhood drugstore. So build your medical kits now because it might save your life.
That kind of ties in a little bit with one of the items I brought up with my talk on the unprepared prepper is your weather station.
Mm-hmm.
Because, we're not going to have the communication and the satellites and all this and radar and other great stuff that we have today, which in some cases don't do
it doesn't do much, does
anyway.
it? Yeah.
You need to have, and again, so many of the instruments you buy today are, battery powered or made in China with their high quality. And to get something, to measure the temperature, to measure the humidity, to measure the barometric pressure, because you're going to have to keep track of what's going on to figure out what's going on with the weather and do your own forecasting. And if you don't have those tools, then all you can do is, kind of look up at the clouds and, motion your finger and see which way the wind's blowing, and that's about it.
That's it. And we have that too. Yeah. Our thermometer will stay inside, but it has a probe that goes outside.
Right.
And I like that real well. But you know what I have found is my best weather channel person? Well, weather channel is my dog. This is the second dog that we've had that can tell us the weather. It can be a sunny day, it can be beautiful, and he knows it's going to storm later. Like for example, this happened this morning. It wasn't supposed to storm until tonight, Thursday night. They said the storms would probably start around 8. Well, Presley, our pit bull, the weather dog, woke me up at 5:30. Okay. And sure enough, a storm was getting ready to roll through. I was like, what are you doing? It's not till tonight. Really? You don't need over 12 hours notice here. And I look. Okay. But no, we had a storm roll through early. So what you said is absolutely correct. So get a weather dog.
And, I've talked about, I grew up in Southeast Texas. So we have this, or at least back in the 60s, it was this annual event. You'd go to the grocery store and pick up your hurricane tracking chart. And we didn't have the satellites back then. They send out airplanes. And you'd be listening to the radio several times a day to find out where the hurricane is now. You'd stick it on the tracking chart. And, we didn't have computer models. You'd just be watching what it was doing. And that was how we did things back then. And compare that to what it was just a few decades earlier. You can read about the hurricane that hit Galveston, cost thousands of lives, because you can't tell the difference between, a thunderstorm coming in and a hurricane until it's way too late. And if you plan on living, in hurricane country after the event, that's going to be a tough consideration because you can't just, pack up and run every time you see a thunderstorm coming.
Oh, that's true, because you can't. That's right. Yeah.
So it's one of those considerations, it's nice living on the coast where you have access to, fish and, whatever else you like about living on the coast. But no place is perfect. Everyone has its pluses and minuses. It's like if you move inland here, you end up with, Tornado Valley, and fortunately they don't hit as wide an area as hurricanes do, but they're more frequent. And even without that, you have the regular weather, and whether it's late snow and early frost, or a hailstorm in the middle of growing season, those things can adversely affect your food production and your ability to make it through the winter.
Well, it can, and we take all the weather for granted, don't we?
Yes, we do.
And that's the thing. People need to think about that. It's kind of going to be going back to the old days. Yes, it is. Like, oh, no, don't plant yet, that kind of thing.
And that just, adds to why you need to really, really prioritize right now and start taking steps, even if they're just baby steps, because there's so much to learn. And you can, even relate it to normal things that you do in life, like driving a car.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just get in a car and be able to handle everything. If it's, flat, straight road in the middle of the day with no traffic, it doesn't take a lot of skill to drive that.
Right.
But if you've got, curvy mountainous terrain, you have black ice or fog or, a number of conditions and traffic, that's where it takes some experience and skill. And you don't get that overnight. And hopefully you live through your mistakes in getting to that point. But when it comes time for being able to raise your own food, if you don't have a supply of food on hand to make it to where you can live through your mistakes, you've got a problem.
You do. And you know what I found was one of the most critical things about prepping, John? Your best weapon, your best computer, your best problem solver is right between your ears. It's your brain. You just got to learn to think differently and think unconventionally and learn to really kind of work through situations and realize that there is a solution to every problem, and you've just got to find it. And that's key to being able to survive this event.
And I have to feel sorry for so many of the young people, and I'd say anybody under 40 nowadays, that their lives are so tied to the smartphones. They're basically geared not to think. There's an app for that. Well, guess what? There's not going to be an app for what's coming. And
I wish it was so easy. Hey, what do I do for this? That's right. You're not. No. But you know what else? But John, we're not going to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
Unless you've set up a ham radio rig and you've got a tall enough antenna and there's repeaters still working. Imagine. I sit around and think about this. I bet you do too. What's it going to be like when I just can't pick up the phone and call Doc Waterman and say, hey, what's going on with this? We won't be able to do that.
And even if you do have the setup, you may not have the time to even mess with it because there's so much else you have to do just to stay alive.
That's it.
And my point of there not being the working supply chain, that includes what we got used to in the United States, even back in the old days, was the post office. Your ability just to put a name and city on an envelope and send it and it gets there, it's going to take probably at least a couple of decades before any of that gets set up again. It might even take longer than that.
We're going to go back to the Pony Express. Works for me.
But this time we've got music. John Regan with Erin Dakins. I can't believe how quick this hour is going. We'll be back with the final segment after these messages.
A little over a year ago, I began to do a lot of research into why, even though I had a pretty good-sized meal, that I was still starving. And my research led me to a well-known fact that most of the soils that we grow our crops on here in the United States and across the industrialized world are almost completely depleted of almost all of the key minerals and trace elements that our bodies need to rebuild themselves, fight off cancer, and be healthy. I then searched out the best vitamin and mineral company out there and discovered Youngevity. The Youngevity products are designed to give you the real nutrition you need, and once you've got that, you don't have to eat as much to be satisfied. I've lost 37 pounds in 2 months, simply getting the vitamins and minerals I need. Check it out for yourself. It's incredible. Go to InfoWarsTeam.com today and order your first canister of Beyond Tangy Tangerine Complete Multivitamin Mineral Complex Dietary Supplement. That's InfoWarsTeam.com.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 877-345-7645. That's 877-345-7645. When you call, you'll get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately at 1-877-345-7645. That's 1-877-345-7645. 1-877-345-7645.
The human body is extraordinary. Despite all the stresses we inflict upon it, it still works hard to stay in balance. Thousands upon thousands of people rely upon Heart and Body Extract to help their body stay balanced. This excellent 100% natural herbal formula helps maintain healthy blood pressure levels, cleans arteries, promotes good circulation, balances cholesterol, and more. HB Extract, paired with healthy lifestyle choices like good nutrition and exercise, can give you a life free of pain, sickness, and fear. Recapture your youthful vitality and experience your body healing itself with the aid of HB Extract. It's extremely effective and it starts working in just days. Visit hbextract.com to learn more and to read scores of testimonials from satisfied customers. And we've never increased our price in over 10 years. That makes Heart and Body Extract as great a value now as it was the first day we sold it. A healthy heart is a happy heart. Call 866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
Vince will be back with us tomorrow. This is your Captain, John Regan. And I guess let me quickly give you an update on what you missed from my seminar on the Financial State of the Union. This was just an update. It didn't even cover anything really from my book other than to summarize, the condition of, it takes more than all the money in the world to fix our problem, and you can't even tax 100% and keep from going further in the hole. I found out what the actual dollar amount is that we're going to have to pay for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. It doesn't even include Obamacare over the next 75 years. This number is represented in the financial report of the United States as a number that's 14 trillion and change. And as bad as that is, that's what we would have to have in the bank earning interest to meet those payments. And not having the numbers, just mentally, I was thinking maybe the number's about 3 times that. And boy, was I off. And it's the human linear thinking problem. So for the 75-year period, and this number comes out of the trustee report, so it's very well documented, that was reported as 14 trillion is actually over 230 trillion. And don't confuse that with the $200 trillion number that Professor Kotlikoff uses. That's for the infinite horizon. That would make his number something over $1 trillion. So, if you weren't convinced before that we can't afford what's coming, that pretty much does it. However, but wait, there's more. When they take that number, they use an interest rate to discount it to get to that 14 trillion. Well, the interest rate they used was really quite reasonable, something we would consider normal, something in the 5.7, 5.8% range. Well, when you take that number, if we return to a normal interest rate, applying that number to our current federal debt only, you're talking about the government having to pay over $1 trillion a year just in interest. That's getting darn close to total, personal tax receipts. So, again, that's not good, but it's kind of like, but wait, there's more. And question I get is how long can this go on? Because, we know we have a structural problem that is going to hit sometime in the future. We have another problem, whereas if they decide to raise interest rates quickly, especially, that sets off those quadrillion dollars worth of derivatives and crashes the bond market. So that can happen literally at a moment's notice. But the structural problem is something else. So I went and did a model, and the second version of this took the IRS tax stats, plus added, since tax returns don't include 100% of the Social Security, I upped it for that. I looked at government spending, and my first model did interest on our $60 trillion of debt the United States owes in total. And since we don't get to just pay interest only, I used a number of 3% on top of that to pay towards principal. So when I reran that model, just using that with the current growth rates that we have in those areas, government spending and debt service are greater than total income by 2020. Wow. And obviously we can't make it that far. So when I look at, I say, think back up halfway, which would be 2017 and a half. And when you look at history, and you can check like a graph from the Weimar Republic, you look at the where things went bad for them. It was a 3-year time frame from going unhitching to collapse. And looking at all the news items, I think we've hit that unhitching. Erin, Dakins, thanks for being with us. John Regan. Thank you. Vince will be back with us tomorrow. Remember, class, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.
I'm Vincent Finelli of USAPrepares.com. As most of you know, I broadcast weekday mornings on GCN from 9 to 11. And I'm also a full-time farmer. Add to that mix the weekly meetups and the Get Prepared Expo, and this combination makes for a demanding schedule. On the farm, we raise grass-fed Black Angus cattle and provide them with the best variety of summer and fall grasses available. Our cattle are exposed to the extremes of weather, the toxins in the air, and the electromagnetic radiation that's all around us. So even the best grasses and food that we provide are not enough. Our cattle require minerals and supplements for strong health and resistance to disease. And so do we. For these reasons, my mother, our children, Mrs. Finelli, and I all take longevity beyond Tangy Tangerine, De-Stress, Glucogel, and EFA+. USAPreparesTeam.com. And thank you for being in class today.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 877-345-7645. That's 877-345-7645. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately at 1-877-345-7645. That's 1-877-345-7645. 1-877-345-7640 today.